Oh, that's why?
They had to double up. Yeah,
I thought Richard O'Brien was just a genius.
We were getting 18.
No, sadly not.
I thought Richard was a genius.
Well, darling, the script was being written overnight while we were coming and going. You know, it was very casual.
And I think at some point we've all been in roles and doing multiple characters and that frantic costume change on the sidelines.
But it was so, I mean, you know, Dr. Scott's mustache was painted on with an eyebrow pencil. So that, yeah, in the play.
Yeah, sure.
That's the scope. But it was Tim Curry that, I mean, I'd had acting lessons and done Shakespeare already when we did Shakespeare. I mean, when we did more. But, and you always hear about being in the moment, and you always think you're in the moment. Well, it was Tim that taught me
forget all that shit.
On the third show, he said the line, well, Dr. Scott, we meet at last, completely different than he did. And rehearsals are the first two shows. And if I'd have said my line the way it was, I would have looked like a moron. And that taught me to be in the moment.
Yeah.
So thank you, Tim Curry.
You went from in the moment to in the icebox.
The freezer after his moment.
The cruelty of life.
Nell, you just gave us the promo clip for this panel. Thank you. All right, we are good to go on to audience questions. So what do you say we switch on over to them? And our first one comes from Jocelyn, and she wants to know, what is everyone's favorite song from the film?
Opportunity.
I'm going home. The song that Tim sings at the end, right? On the edge of the stage. That's I'm going home.
Choose. Yeah, it's wonderful.
I just thought he was so brilliant in that. The feelings were so ambiguous. You just didn't. You felt sorry for him, and but you know he was evil, you know. And I just thought he brought such depth to that, and I think it's a really good song.
I think, as I'm saying this based on the song on its own, like taking it out of the show, I would say Science Fiction would be my favorite song.
That's wonderful, that song.
Yeah, it's got a beautiful melody. The lyric, it's a great song. I mean, it's one of the many things that people forget or don't. No, that's not true. They don't forget, but definitely contributing to the film never even resting, let alone dying, is that every song is great. There's not a dud song in it.
Well, there was one dud song.
No, there wasn't. The one that was cut, you mean?
And which one was that?
It wasn't a dud. It was because of the timing. No, that wasn't dud, and you did it beautifully.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there a copy of that
Could
somewhere?
you just give me a little bit of it, please?
Once in a while,
There was a song
she don't want to...
Stop. There was a song cut from the film?
Yeah, Barry's song.
Yeah, once in a while,
Barry
yeah.
Solo.
Listen, this is it.
After I got nailed by Tim.
Once in a while,
She don't want to call you, speaking on the telephone. And once in your life, she don't want to know you.
I don't
You look around. Have we used up 45 minutes yet?
No. We got.
By the way,
We get the.
it was just, you know, it didn't fit in at that time in the filming. I would agree with that. I think that's definitely what happened.
No, I agree with you. It was just the right song at the wrong place. Well, it was the wrong song at the right place. I don't know.
Yeah, I think
one of the two.
Did they sing the show in '73? Do you remember, Nell?
What, darling?
Did they sing that song in '73?
No.
Yeah, me. You're getting a little pixelated.
Yeah,
No.
What do you mean in the play? Yeah, they sang it. He sang it.
Not in London. I think it was in London.
I don't remember it in the play.
You don't?
I don't remember. I don't remember. Sorry. Very strange.
I remember that song in the play.
So,
But can I just throw into that mix when Tim Curry starred in Da 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 Da, Eric Idle's musical on Broadway, directed by Mike Nichols.
Yep.
Oh, Spamalot.
Spamalot, thank you.
Da-da-da-da.
In the rehearsals, just toward as they were getting very close to the end of rehearsals and opening, Mike Nichols cut his favorite song from the show. Tim told me that when I went backstage. It's called Murder Your Darlings. You know, so the show worked better without that song in it.
Oh.
Sometimes you have a great song that just doesn't match the tempo of the production,
Yeah.
Which is why Hot Patootie is one of my favorites, because I think it gooses the movie right at a really good point. You know, when it comes on in as the tour de force, and Tim plays it so wonderfully, being all sneery. It's like stealing his thunder, and Nell, way you just went and does, my boyfriend's back. So that just works. And I also have a soft spot for science fiction, because as an old geek, I find myself having to explain those movies to the younger generation. Well, Michael Rennie was in a film called The Day the Earth Stood Still. It was a science fiction classic. And, and Day of the Triffids, well, that's where everybody goes blind. And, some of that stuff. But Jocelyn, thank you. That was a wonderful question. And Meat, it's up to you. If you want to be all pixelated, fine too. If you want, sometimes if you log out and log back in again,
it's the internet.
Okay, all right, fair enough. So, okay, here's one.
Let me say one thing. If science fiction in the wrong hands, it just gets laborious. It's too long and flat. But in the right hands, like when Pat does it, it has some shape to it. But they just did a fundraiser, right, for the Democratic Party, and they did the live reading of the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and when they opened it with that song, the woman who played the piano and did it, it was endless. It just was endless. It just didn't kick the evening off at all. It actually just slowed the whole thing down. So I guess that's my only problem with that song.
On that note, I would like to add, because I remember going to a Prince concert and he opened with one of my favorite songs of his, but it's a really slow song, a very curious way to open a show. The great thing when we did the show originally, and it was Pat's song, Pat was selling ice creams, and everyone thought he was the ice cream seller. And suddenly the lights went dark and a spotlight came up on Pat, and she started singing that song in her melancholic voice. And it was absolutely fantastic. That was a magical opening of the show.
Well, that was the opening of the show. That was the opening of the show in LA and on Broadway.
Yeah.
I know, but I'm just explaining because so many people have seen it. Just the movie, they don't realize
the movie
it.
with the lips.
I completely understand, and I'm sorry I'm pixelating. This internet has been giving us grief for the last week.
You look like a Francis Bacon painting.
Well, I'm all down for that. I'm heavy.
Got that right.
So we have a question on the table from Robin, and they would like to know, who were some of your mentors?
Well, I had one in New York when I was doing stage out of NYU, and his name was Ellis Rabb, and he was a director and actor, and he ran the a repertory company on Broadway. And he sort of took me under his wing and sort of introduced me to the theater world in New York in the late 60s. And what's that? It's called what?
Called grooming.
Oh, I still didn't hear it.
No,
that's called grooming.
Oh, grooming. Yes, I was groomed.
If we wouldn't drink and speak at the same time, we'd understand.
Yeah.
My mentor was a gentleman by the name of Joseph Papp, and he took me under his wing in New York. I was the 13th person in the history of the public theater to be on salary full time, and he put me in table readings with Pacino. he said, you've got one line, just say it. And I sit there and listened, and he put me in Shakespeare. He was
So what company did he have?
He told me I was capable of doing anything that I wanted in the world of, in artistic world.
I think it was right. Pat, go ahead.
So I just trying to remember, Joe Papp, suddenly that name I know. And what company did he have?
The Public
New York
Theatre.
Shakespeare.
He ran the New York Shakespeare Festival. He ran Lincoln Center. He ran Public Theater. He produced Chorus Line. He produced. I can't even go. It's endless. Yeah. The man was theater in New York.
Mm-hmm.
I know, but I was going back to the days of the Living Theatre coming here, but of course that wasn't him. Who ran that?
Was he called Charles something?
Who?
Was he Charles? I'm sorry, I don't really know.
No, I do know his name, but I can't think of it. But he was like, I was at drama school at the time, and he was like, we were amazed by the Living Theatre. They were at the Roundhouse in London, here in Primrose Hill. And we went to their shows, and we went back to school the next day thinking, wow, now we've seen it. You know, it was wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
It was brilliant. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
Well, I suppose for me, it was when I had hepatitis very badly, aged 10, misdiagnosed, and they removed my appendix, which
Oh, yes, you did.
made me extremely ill. But the great side effect of it all was 3 months at home with my mother, because I'm one of 4 children. So I had my mother to myself, and I'd watch the midday movie and every day. And that's when, you know, Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers, Ruby Keeler, all of those folk were doing the musicals, Busby Berkeley shows, etc., Alice Faye. And that's what got me going. Anyway, I hope I'm not boring you all to death.
No, I see that in you.
Let me say one more. Let me say one more thing. When I was a kid, we used to eat our dinner, in front of TV dinners and stuff, in front of TV. Mm-hmm. And the Ed Sullivan Show, to me, was so important because I saw a little bit of every type of show business in it. You had opera, you had puppets, you had, comedians, you had everybody. And I thought the Ed Sullivan Show was very, very important to me as a kid to see, what entertainment was about.
You had Elvis, you had the Beatles.
Yep.
You had Elvis Presley from the waist up.
Yep.
Right.
The Doris, Carlin, and Dean. Robin, thank you. That was a great question. What do we have next from Louise? What did your family think when they saw you in the movie? Oh, and I'll say this too. You can also, if you have an interesting story about if you were in one of the theatrical versions.
I had no family. I don't have a brother, sisters, mother, father, grandmother, grandfather, aunts, uncles. I am by myself. With
Did you have some friends who came out and saw it that, hey, come and see this new thing I'm doing? Did you get a reaction from them?
Just Jim Steinman and Ellen Foley and myself we were doing the National Lampoon show in Philadelphia, and we went to the 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock showing, and we're the only 3 people in the theater. And I didn't know what to think because it was very different than the play.
Yeah, that is for sure. What did they think?
Well, then, hang on. But it became interesting because when it opened at the Waverly in New York, we were on Broadway with Tim. And so Tim asked me to go with him and his friend from England down to the Waverly. And when I got there, I went to the ticket booth and they said they were sold out. And I said, well, hang on. You see the gentleman I'm with? He is Tim Curry. He is Frankfurter, the star of the film. And I play Eddie in the movie. You think we can get in? And she went and left. She goes, okay, you can get in. Well, Tim and his friend went in and sat down. I sat next to him. The manager of the theater walked by me and said, you better be who you say you are, or you're in big.
I hope you gave him a few notes from your song. took the roof off the joint.
Great story. That's great.
Oh, that's fantastic. Who's got another one? Either friends or family's reaction to the film.
Tootie!
Well, I thought it was wonderful. I mean, my son, I wanted my grandson to come and see me at the Royal Albert Hall because we were doing 40 years of Rocky Horror and one was presenting it. So I wanted Charlie, my grandson, to come and see his grandmama to be at the Albert Hall. I mean, I'm, his granny standing on the stage presenting a film.
You're at Royal Albert Hall. They should come.
Well, the point is that Quinn said, no. My son said, no, mother, because there's a 13-year-old thingy on it now or something. And I said, what the are you talking about, Quinn? You were on the set when you were 5. How dare he? And he didn't bring Charlie. I was furious. And anyway, Charlie, this is wonderful. And Charlie then said to me a while later, he said to me, Pat, I said, yeah. He said, I've seen it. I said, sorry? What, Charlie? He said, well.
That is so funny.
Patty, you should mute me for a second because I'm going to call my wife and I'm going to be extremely loud.
No problem. Judah.
Don't blame her.
No problem.
Okay, just mute me.
Okay, when you want to come back on, just wave your arms around or give us a thumbs up and we'll turn you back on. Okay, those will work too. Nell. Oh, Nell, we have a new panelist. What's that one's name?
This was Tallulah.
Oh, hello, Tallulah. Thanks for joining us.
She's not so keen on me picking her up, but I have to force it on her sometimes.
No, it is. So, Nell, do you have any friends or family reactions from when they saw the film?
Oh, they were absolutely thrilled to see me on the big screen, as you can imagine. No, they were just absolutely proud as punch. Except I think proud's the wrong word. Out and proud is good, but they were just thrilled. I got a gig up there, sequins, tap dancing, and unshockable parents, really. So there was nothing. I think seeing me in Jubilee, well, I was with them when they saw me in Jubilee. I had a hat and I suddenly threw it in the air at some moment when I was in bed with Adamant, bit of a distraction.
Quinn's in Jubilee.
Pardon?
My son is in Jubilee.
Is he?
Yeah.
Who does he play?
Sorry?
Who does he play?
He plays a little boy who finds a kind of stone or something, a precious stone at the end or something.
Oh.
It's Quinn. Yeah.
How
His
fun.
father, Don Hawkins, was the producer, one of the producers on Jubilee.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Barry, what was that?
My kids, who were teenagers at the time, hadn't seen it, but all of their friends had seen it. And so finally their friends took them and to see it. And they have never talked to me about it.
I actually thinking about that. I didn't have anyone who saw it.
Yeah.
Pardon?
I mean, they didn't see it with you.
Me?
I don't know if my mother ever saw it. I don't know when it came to Belfast. I mean, there's a massive Rocky Horror following in Northern Ireland, because it goes to the Opera House, that stage show and everything. But I'm looking back at the time. I mean, I saw the film with you in Leicester Square. Do you remember?
Yeah. By the way, I didn't see it with my parents. They would have seen it in Australia, and I was in London at the time.
Yeah, nobody mentioned it at the time. I mean, come on, it was a sleeper for 2 years, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was, it's lived on. So, Louise, thank you. Great question. And a reminder to our audience, if you'd like to chat with our guests like I am now or purchase a personalized autograph, you can sign up at galaxycon.com. And don't be afraid of Meet's technical issues. Usually during our chats, it's a different template, so the signal will come in a little stronger. So we'll everyone get back. In the meantime, what's next? Here's one from Samantha. What is hey?
I don't know what's happening. I don't know if this is any better.
It's worse.
Well, we can hear you. That's the important thing.
Yeah, you're coming.
Okay, that's better.
Bit better.
All right.
I think it's worse. I think you're right. Okay.
No.
I'm going away again. Sorry, guys.
Don't worry, darling.
No worries, boss. The main thing we can hear you as long as you hear us. I think we're okay.
Okay, you want me to just stay here and talk? Okay.
Yeah, please, man. We would love you. I mean, if you're that uncomfortable, I'm not going to hold you to it. But like I said, we can hear you. The audience can hear you. So
well, then I'm going to talk and walk.
Okay, we can do that too. So this question on the table is from Samantha, and she would like to know, what was the hardest challenge you have ever faced in filming? And you may draw from any part of your career.
I once was in a TV movie where I played a fighter pilot. It was called Red Flag and was based on a real story that happened at Air Force training where American planes were fighting Russian planes in these games. Yeah. And there was one scene where I had to walk out onto the tarmac, get into my jet, and I had dialogue on the ground and getting into the jet. But I had to time it with two jets taking off right behind me and they told me before we did the scene that if I screwed up, it would cost them about $10,000 every time the jets had to go up, turn around, and then come back down again.
Oh, wow.
I was petrified because of the challenges of having to...
The pressure.
The pressure of having jet planes behind you taking off just as you said a particular line.
That's not the right one. Yes, it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's nice.
I thought you were going to say just getting into the cockpit of a fighter plane, because at your height, that couldn't have been an easy thing.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. I also once played a captain of a submarine in World War II, and I realized once we got there that I realized why people in submarines, there was a height limit. You couldn't be over 6 feet tall and be a person in a submarine. I was 6'4", and I kept on hitting my head on the top of the submarine. Yeah, so yeah.
Well, I can't remember the film, but the hardest challenge I ever had was Danny Aykroyd had been cast in this film, and he decided he didn't want to do it, and so they hired me. And they wanted me to be Danny Aykroyd.
Yeah.
I can't be Danny Aykroyd.
How funny.
I can be Meatloaf. But I don't play Meatloaf. I could be whatever that character was, but I'm not going to be Danny Aykroyd. He has a whole different thing.
Yeah.
That's the hardest challenge I ever had.
Playing Danny Aykroyd as somebody else.
Yeah, playing Meatloaf, playing Danny Aykroyd as Frank.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I had a bad time in Hawk the Slayer. The opening scene, I was in the back lot somewhere in Black Park or somewhere near Elstree, and I was tied up to a tree, and I was blind. I had the blind thing was a blind piece of leather over my eyes. So I had this over my eyes. I had all these rags on and tons of bones and things hanging from me. I was this old. It's called, actually, my name on the film was it just said Old Woman. That was who I was. That was the name of my character. And then they dropped that to Woman. So I was Woman, and I said, "Oh, well, that's her. That's good." Anyway, so I was hanging by up on this tree, and they had a bonfire under me. And Warren Clark, the actor, was saying, "Burn the hag, burn her." So they're going to set fire to me, and the pouring rain all day, and I'm hanging there with this blindfold on, and I just wish they would burn me. Came by on a horse and went ping with an arrow and shot down the ropes, and I was free. And I went home and I thought, I'm going to die if I stay in this movie.
Well, I'm glad you did, because again, I adore that film, and we've spoken about it before. You said that that's your son's favorite movies that you've done. So,
well, no, he saw it as a little boy. He was quite proud of that. Yeah.
Indeed. So, and Nell, how about you? What was the biggest challenge?
I suppose it was just a moment. It wasn't so much a challenge because my role was so small, but I was in the killing fields and we were doing a scene. I was playing a journalist and there was a bunch of us. We were in Thailand pretending to be real. And in Vietnam, and they had, they weren't Black Hawks in those days, but those army helicopters.
The Hueys.
Guys leaning out with machine gun pointed at you. And they were just above us, and we had to be getting ready to leave the Saigon American embassy off the roof. And it was like the real thing. It's funny, but if you've got an army helicopter so close to you, the noise of the helicopter, guys pointing machine guns and rifles at you, and that was just to protect the Americans, but it was terrifying.
Yes.
I get a little bit fun.
It was supposed to have been the real thing, Nell.
Yeah, I know. Well, I think I got into my role.
Yes, darling.
Helicopters again.
Wonderful movie. It's brilliant.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Samantha, thank you. That was a wonderful question. And GalaxyCon viewers, this has been my time with the cast of the Rocky Horror Picture Show, but it absolutely does not have to be yours. If you'd like to chat with our guests or purchase a personalized autograph, please sign up at galaxycon.com. And while you're there, please check out our schedule of upcoming events just like this one. Ladies and gentlemen, any final words for our audience before we go backstage?
Well, no, but I have final word for you. Can you leave the four of us on the screen for just a second? Without anybody else listening, so I can talk to the four of them?
Yeah, we can do that. We might be able to do that backstage. I think so.
Okay.
I think we can't do it while we're on here, but we can try that backstage for you.
We did that backstage before. Yes, please.
Yes, indeed it does. So
thank you for tuning in, everybody.
Thank you very much. It's been great. It's been wonderful.
Thank you, Penny.
Very global.
Always.
And thanks to everybody who asked the questions.
Absolutely. Thank you to everyone. We'll give Pat, Barry, Meet, Nell. Thank you again for joining us here at the GalaxyCon Virtual Stage. Thank you to our audience for joining us. And as Meet said, thank you for those wonderful questions.
And hi to my friend Doug, and hi to Tony, my two darlings. Doug Papaya and Tony, very Italian.
Until then,
Tony too.
Until then, everyone, bye-bye, take care, and please keep washing those hands.
Oh.